Enterprise transformation is accelerating, but results are not. Budgets keep growing, dashboards keep multiplying, yet ROI remains unclear. This is the transformation paradox. Companies measure activity instead of impact. Today, we explore what really drives business performance and how measurement becomes your strongest lever for ROI.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the show that tears through complex source material to pull out the insights you actually need. Today, we are tackling, well, maybe one of the biggest budget black holes in modern business, enterprise transformation. Our mission today, it's pretty simple but really crucial. Companies, maybe like yours, are spending absolute fortunes on huge internal projects. Modernizing tech, bringing in AI, redesigning the whole customer experience. But, and this is the key bit, they often just fail to draw a clear, measurable line between all that internal effort and the real business results. We're calling it the transformation paradox. You've probably felt this tension, right? Leaders pour millions, maybe billions, into going digital, but then when they face the board or the exec committee, well, they talk about internal capability improvements, maybe some scores went up, but they can't easily show the hard numbers, the ROI. They're measuring activity, not impact.
Exactly, and that's the absolute core problem we need to get our heads around today. Look, transformation isn't optional anymore. It's about survival, about staying competitive. But if you can't connect that shiny new internal assessment score directly to, say, financial results or operational improvements or happier customers, then it just looks like a documented sunk cost. It's not seen as the growth engine it should be. Maybe think of it like this for you listening. Your organization is like a high-performance race car. Your financial KPIs, revenue, profit margins, those are your lab times. Everyone sees those. But that transformation maturity score, that's like the hidden data, the really complex stuff. Tire pressure, fuel mix, engine mapping, deep diagnostics. So this deep dive is all about learning how to read those hidden metrics so you know precisely which internal lever to pull, which component to tweak to actually guarantee a faster lap time.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that with a bit more rigor then. Before we get to the how of measuring, let's just quickly nail down the fundamental why. Our sources are really clear on this. Companies aren't doing this for fun, are they? They're chasing very specific business outcomes. The usual suspects always come up, becoming more competitive, boosting efficiency, serving customers way better, innovating faster, attracting and keeping top talent, and, the big one, future-proofing the business.
That's the list. They're concrete business goals.
But they're also incredibly easy to lose sight of in the middle of a massive project.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if these huge multi-year initiatives kick off without that clear, measurable link back to those outcomes, well, focus gets diluted fast.
Yeah.
Teams get tired. You hit that initiative fatigue, and without measurement, like you said, transformation just becomes the big cost center that, frankly, teams start to dread instead of a strategy that everyone knows delivers value.
Yeah.
And that's precisely why measurement, done consistently across those really critical dimensions, think strategy, tech, operations, culture, and crucially, customer experience, why it's so valuable. It gives you evidence, proof. It shows the impact. And maybe most importantly, it helps you pinpoint which specific internal capability improvements are the real leading indicators for your most important lagging KPIs, the results you actually report. It basically puts a financial target on improving internal stuff.
I like that phrase, leading indicators. So I want to focus on that idea of potential you mentioned earlier. Are you saying that every maturity gap we find through these assessments, it isn't just a weakness, it's more like an asset, something valuable that's just sitting there waiting?
Precisely. Yeah, you can almost frame it as a dark asset. It's potential value on the balance sheet that hasn't been realized yet. And what's really fascinating here, based on the research, is how effective measurement shows this clear causal chain. It turns these sometimes quite abstract internal diagnostics into really structured value maps.
Okay, tell me about this chain. How does it work?
So it's pretty rigorous. First, you've got the maturity level. That's your current ability in a specific area, let's say data management. Maybe you get a score like 2.6 out of 5. That number isn't just random. It implies something about how your organization behaves. A 2.6 suggests you're probably mainly reactive. You're making decisions based on yesterday's data, looking backwards. Whereas a score of 4 or 5 would mean you're more predictive or even proactive, anticipating things.
Okay, I see. So the score reflects behavior, not just tech. Then the second step in the chain.
That's the capability enhancement. This is the specific improvement you actually make. Maybe it's integrating 3 different old legacy platforms into one, or perhaps upskilling your team on a new tool.
Right, the action you take.
Exactly. And then third, you get the business outcome. This has to be measurable. Could be cost savings, maybe an increase in market share, could be a jump in customer retention or NPS, something concrete.
That causal chain. It sounds great, very logical on paper. But, in the real world, corporate life is messy. You've got internal politics, external market shocks. Doesn't that stuff make it almost impossible to draw a clean line from, say, integrating platforms directly to increased market share? How do the sources suggest we actually defend that link when the CFO or someone inevitably asks for proof?
Yeah, that's always the challenge, isn't it? And it's a fair one. You defend it primarily through two things: correlation over time and trying to strategically isolate variables where you can. It's not always perfect, but you need to show with data that the improvements in that maturity score consistently preceded and correlated with the shift in the KPI you cared about. And the case studies we looked at show this is definitely possible when the measurement is structured from the start. It means every targeted improvement isn't just an activity, it's an investment with a genuinely measurable return. It puts a dollar value on getting better internally.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me looking at that actual evidence. Let's dig into the first case study. This involves a European consumer goods company, and they were laser focused on boosting their direct-to-consumer sales, their DTC channel. Now, their website and app, they worked okay, they were functional, but the results, not great. Poor conversion rates, high customer churn, engagement was just flat. They'd invested money, but nothing was really moving the needle, stagnant.
Right. So they ran a digital maturity assessment, and it immediately flagged a major weakness. It was in the data and insights dimension. Their score there was really low at 2.6, basically deep in that reactive zone we talked about. What that meant in practice was they lacked unified customer profiles. They couldn't see the whole customer picture, and they had no real-time behavioral analytics. They were essentially flying blind, trying to market to, well, ghosts. They didn't really know who they were talking to or what they were doing in real time.
Okay, so operating blind, what was the enhancement then? What did they do?
It was a very focused investment. They brought in a proper customer data platform, a CDP, and crucially, they embedded real-time personalized dashboards directly into the workflows of the marketing and sales teams. So those teams stopped just reacting to past data and started being able to predict and act instantly.
And the outcome, this happened over just 12 months, which is pretty quick. And the results are kind of staggering, right? It really proves the power of that focus.
Absolutely.
They saw 3 massive business outcomes. First, conversion rates went up by 22%. Second, repeat purchase rates improved by 18%. And the big one, overall revenue from that DTC channel grew by a massive 30%. 30%. Oh, and their data and insights maturity score climbed from that low 2.6 up to 3.3.
Yeah, huge jumps.
But okay, 30% DTC growth. That's enormous. Was that purely down to the CDP? Or was there maybe some other market factor like a competitor messing up that helped them capitalize on having better data?
That's a good question to ask. The sources really emphasize that the capability enabled them to capitalize because they could suddenly see customer journey friction points in real time and segment customers much better. They could deploy these highly personalized marketing campaigns and offers that their, frankly, slower competitors just couldn't match. So in a way, the data fluency created the competitive advantage in that moment. It wasn't just luck. This is that structured evidence we were talking about. Targeted growth in one specific capability delivered very specific, large-scale financial results. What gets measured gets focused, right?
And what's focused gets results. Okay, I get it. Let's shift gears now to the second case study. We're moving from pure data fluency more towards the whole customer experience, maybe the plumbing underneath it. This one's about a major telco company. And like a lot of telcos, they were in a super competitive market. They'd poured money into making their digital channels look modern, fancy new apps, sleek websites. But here's the kicker. They saw absolutely no improvement in their Net Promoter Score, their NPS. And customer churn wasn't going down either. Imagine that frustration. You spend all that money, redesign everything, and nothing changes for the actual customer or the bottom line.
Yeah, it's the classic mistake, isn't it? Painting a fresh coat of paint on fundamentally leaky pipes. The digital interfaces looked good, sure, but the actual end-to-end customer journey was completely fragmented, broken, really, because the systems behind the scenes were siloed. Their maturity score in the customer and channels dimension reflected this. It was sitting at 2.8. Still better than the consumer goods company's data score, maybe, but still deep in that reactive territory. Not proactive, not seamless.
What were the specific pain points? Like, what did that 2.8 feel like for a customer?
Oh, it was bad. For example, call center agents often couldn't see what the customer had just tried to do online. Zero context. Billing was often a completely separate offline process that didn't connect. Service tickets submitted online might not be visible if the customer later called in, or vice versa. Essentially, the company was forcing the customer to do all the hard work of connecting the dots between his own internal silos. Terrible experience.
Okay, so the enhancement here wasn't really about throwing more flashy tech at it. It was about integration, coherence.
Exactly. They launched a really aggressive initiative focused purely on integrating those siloed backend systems. They also worked hard to improve personalization so the experience felt relevant. And critically, they aimed to make the digital and physical experiences like in-store visits perfectly consistent. One journey, not multiple conflicting ones. And over 18 months, they managed to lift that customer and channel's maturity score from 2.8 up to 3.6, a significant jump into more proactive territory.
Okay, 18 months. And if you're working in the telco space, or any service industry really, this is where you lean in. The results.
Very clear, very valuable results.
Their Net Promoter Score, NPS, rose by 12 points. That's a substantial shift in customer sentiment. Customer churn, customers leaving them, dropped by 9%. That's huge in a competitive market. And maybe most importantly for the long term, their average customer lifetime value, the CLTV. That's the total profit they expect from a customer over the entire relationship. That increased by 14%.
Yeah, think about that 9% drop in churn.
Yeah.
In a telco, that translates almost directly to protected profit. Pure bottom line impact. It connects the dots perfectly. Improving that CX maturity wasn't just some fuzzy make customers happy goal. It directly drove hard financial metrics like retention and lifetime value. It proves that investing in that difficult back-end integration work, that's actually an investment in revenue certainty. It pays off.
Okay, so these case studies are powerful. If this measurement approach really works this well, it feels like it can't just be an IT thing or a project management thing. What does this imply for how top leaders, the C-suite, should be managing the overall performance of the business?
You're absolutely right. It has to be elevated. It needs to get into the boardroom discussions. The best practice we're seeing, and what the sources highlight, is integrating these transformation maturity metrics directly into the broader executive-level performance dashboards. It's about triangulation, seeing different types of performance data side by side.
Tell me more about that. What does that look like in practice?
We'll take the example from the sources of that large logistics firm. They built an executive dashboard that deliberately combined three crucial types of data. One, traditional financial KPIs. Your EBITDA, your return on invested capital, ROIC, basically, how efficiently you're using our money. Two, key operational KPIs, things critical to their business like on-time delivery rates, fuel efficiency, warehouse utilization. And three, the transformation KPIs, specifically their latest maturity scores for technology, for data, and for process automation.
Okay, I get the three categories, but why is combining them on one dashboard structurally so important? Why not just have separate reports? People love separate reports.
Oh, they do. But combining them forces the difficult conversations. It forces correlation, and maybe more importantly, it removes excuses. Leadership can no longer just look at, say, a disappointing ROIC figure and simply blame general market conditions or external factors. If, right next to that low ROIC, they see a persistently low maturity score in, maybe digital process automation, well, they are forced to ask, are these two things connected? Is our slowness to automate processes actually dragging down our financial efficiency?
I see. It prompts a different level of questioning.
Exactly. In that logistics firm's specific case, leadership could actually see a direct correlation over time. As they improved their digital process automation maturity score, they saw sharp drops in costly manual errors and consequently significant reductions in overtime labor costs. That visible correlation provides empirical guidance for decision-making. It actively justifies shifting budgets towards accelerating that automation. It shows the transformation isn't just discretionary, nice-to-have spending. It's a necessary driver of core business performance. It fundamentally shifts the discussion from if we should transform to how quickly can we get this done.
That really crystallizes it for me. That feels like the essential insight here. This kind of transformation measurement isn't just passive diagnosis like getting a checkup. It's active guidance. It's a roadmap. It provides that structured, evidence-based story you need to prove that this massive, often difficult undertaking of changing your organization is actually translating into tangible, valuable results, the kind the CFO and the board care about.
Indeed. And if we just circle back to connect this to the bigger picture for everyone listening, consider this final thought. If we accept that idea that a maturity gap isn't just a weakness, but it's really a dark asset, untapped potential just waiting to be claimed, then you really need to know right now, what are the current maturity scores for your organization across those critical dimensions? Strategy, tech, operations, CX, and culture. Where are your gaps?
Okay, so here's the provocative question to leave you with as you look ahead, thinking about your own business. If every single capability improvement is truly an investment with a measurable return, then what crucial, currently low maturity score in your organization today signals the single largest guaranteed ROI? Which gap, if closed, offers the biggest payback, just waiting there to be unlocked and converted into proven profit or performance? That's the question that should dictate where you focus your transformation budget and effort next.